Hey friends, host Eric here. I was talking with Fan People. I'm here with Matthew and a typologically uncertain individual. Some people are born cis-typal. Some people, it's not so clear for them. They have to decide on their type eventually. So, anyway, we're here to type him. Matthew and I are here to type him. And let's get started. This is somewhat revelatory of how I type people one-on-one, I guess, but it's not exactly the same sort of thing. But you'll get a gist of some of the stuff I ask. So the first thing I want to know is how long have you been? Do you feel like you've been uncertain about your type? Has it been quite a while?
Yeah. I've had periods where I was like, I settled and then it came out of settling, and then so it's been like a up and down type of thing.
Okay.
Um, I've been doing it for probably, I've been into MBTI for probably like almost 3 years now. But yeah.
Okay. Um, if you were asked to give a speech on something, what would be a topic you might be interested in giving a speech on versus a topic you would definitely not want to give a speech on?
I would give a speech on uh, typology, I,
Okay.
but because I feel most comfortable speaking about that because I know a lot about it. Um, what I'm not comfortable talking about is probably something like politics.
Okay. Are you not comfortable talking about politics because it causes social distress, or because you don't know what you believe, or because you just think it's boring, or because something else?
All of the above.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, would you rather go to like a big party and be able to talk to multiple people, a small party and be able to talk to multiple people, a big party and just talk to one or two people, or a small party and just talk to one or two people?
Good question. I would say big party talk to one or two people.
Okay. Matthew, you got any questions?
Um, what do you like debating?
No, not really.
What is it you don't like about it?
I'm more of the type of person that see like both sides. I like to I like to observe arguments, but I'm not one to get into it.
Do you do any creative
Um,
endeavors like writing or music or painting or something?
I do music, um, a little graphic design.
Okay.
That's about it.
Do you what capacity do you do music? Are you a vocalist? Are you a music like play an instrument? Do you produce? Do you what?
I'm a producer.
Okay. Talk to me about what you think matters a lot in terms of, say, mixing and mastering.
Uh, you have to give each instrument the right space in a mix. Um, let me say mixing and mastering. You can't. You have to make sure one sound doesn't overpower. There's no hard set rules. It's just you just have to kind of like feel it out. Um, I mean, at least that's the way I would go about it.
Um, did you have something, Eric? I didn't want to interrupt your flow,
No,
but
you go ahead. I do have a follow
uh,
up, which I'll ask now, but you then ask your question and he answer it first, which is what makes a good song to you when you're happy with one of your tracks or not happy? What's the difference? But Matthew, ask your question first.
what's if you had to boil it down, like what's uh what's most important to you in life?
I would say understanding.
In what sense?
Understanding people, like understanding perspectives, because I feel when you understand perspectives, it solves a lot of issues.
Would you rather
And
understand
people don't
how
think.
or why?
What's that?
Would you rather understand how or why?
Why?
Okay. What makes a good song versus a bad song? When you're happy with the track versus not happy with the track.
For me, I I can't give you a guideline. It's just something that I know. Like I just know when something's good, and I know when something's not good. It's just like a instinctual thing.
Is it a binary
Um,
or more of a spectrum? Like, do you go, this is very bad, medium bad, sort of bad, very good, or is it like it either hits or it doesn't?
Um, that's tough. When it comes to, you mean like my songs or anybody's songs? Like,
Your own tracks. Like, do you have a binary standard? Like, this one makes the cut. It's great. I like it. These ones don't quite hit that standard. Or is it more like a range and there's no such binary cutoff point?
I would say there's more of a sharper cutoff, like yes or no. Um, because I like me, like when I make a project, I'm very perfectionistic, so I have high standards when it comes to like what's gonna make the cut. So it's easy for me to know when something's not ready or when something needs work and when something's finished.
it is it easy for your feelings to get hurt? Could I say something that'd rub you the wrong way pretty easily?
Um, no, not really. I don't really get offended easily. Um, I won't say I never get I won't say I never get offended, but I don't get offended easily because most of the time, if you're trying to offend me, like to me, it's obvious what you're trying to do. Like when people do a lot of things, it's obvious what they're trying to do. So like um, when I know what you're trying to do, it kind of I see past the I see past what you're doing for what you're really trying to do. Like it's hard to explain, but
So you're
um,
not even bothered by like the actuality of what they might be throwing at you because you can see beyond it, so it kind of mutes it a little bit. Okay. Uh,
yeah, exactly.
so this mug says, "I put the pro in procrastinate." Could this be a mug that you could own, or would that make sense for you to own it?
I put the pro on procrastination. I mean, I don't know if I would get that much, but
Okay, I have a question about insulting. Would you be more insulted by an insult about your appearance, your intelligence, your creativity, or your kindness?
I'd say it would be easily to offend me on intelligence and creativity, probably, because those are two things that I'm sensitive about. Appearance, I mean, appearance. I'm kind of sensitive about appearance, but it's not that important to me. Um, but intelligence, I'm kind of like I'm not very confident in my intelligence.
Which would bother
Like
you
I know,
more? Which would bother you more? Somebody saying you're not creative at all, or somebody saying you're creative but you just make bad stuff?
the second one,
Okay. Why would the first one not bother you?
because I know I'm creative.
Okay,
So that
gotcha.
like that's just your opinion, I guess. But
I'm sorry if I interrupted the flow of an answer to an existing question when I came back in. I wasn't sure what we were doing. I had to reset the
Um,
electricity. Go ahead, Matthew.
Well,
Sorry.
I guess yeah. Just one follow up on the mug thing. I mean, do you think you get stuff done pretty easily, or do you put things you have to do off a lot?
Um,
Do you prioritize getting stuff done, or only theoretically, and then put it on hold?
I don't take that long to get things like I wait for the right time, and then when I know it's the right time, then I'll blast through it like quickly. Um, I don't like having things not finished. So I can like I'm the type of person if I know I have to do something during the day, I can't relax until I get everything done for the day, and
Are
then
you,
I can
are
relax.
you prone to putting too many things on your plate, or are you cautious about committing to things?
I would say I want to say I'm cautious about putting too much at once. Um,
Well, I'll tell you right off the bat, what I hear from you immediately sounds a lot like FINE because you can't answer anything. You don't have a straight answer for anything. That's textbook INFP behavior right there. Okay,
okay,
I can't get you if I asked you, you know, is it day or night? You'd be like, well, I guess it's day, but you could argue evening or maybe twilight, or you could say a really late dawn. It's hard to say exactly. That is
gotcha.
totally consistent with INFP behavior. They don't always act like that. And the other thing is, when you talked about what would offend you more, intelligence, well, that's the insecurity function TI for an INFP. That's where you're going to feel insecure about.
Okay,
So that
interesting.
would be consistent with that as well. Just my initial observations. Matthew,
Okay.
you got any thought on that?
Um, I kind of like to do that too. That thing of not being completely one way with the answer and leave like an opening where it could be some other way. But do you do you like to leave the house a lot? Are you always out and about, or do you like to sort of hide in your room?
I'm definitely more in my room. My room is like my sanctuary.
Um, okay. How damp is the moistness of your tinder? Extremely damp, totally wet, or just sort of damp?
The moistness of my tender.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, does your tender drip?
Yeah.
I don't know what a tender
Do you dangle your tenders into my dampness? That means basically dampness and moisture refers to emotions or feelings. Do you have a lot of? Are you moist? You know.
Come on, Eric, we got to type it. Don't stop hitting on it.
is. Oh, but yeah,
Okay, so let me phrase it a different way. That's sort of a joke question. Um,
I
okay, so it's like what I'm basically asking you is how do you know clearly how attached you are to things, how precious something is to you? In my basic understanding of FI, and believe me, it's a function I don't understand well, but in my basic understanding of it, you must approach if you're an FI Dom or an FI tool person, you must approach circumstances by relating how much each of the elements in these circumstances matters to you personally, how important it is to you, and that's how you make your way through the world is noting the legitimacy of things on that vector. I don't know exactly what it's like because I'm polar FI, but that's my best description of it as I can come up with.
yeah. I see that a lot in my girlfriend, and she's ISFP. Um, me, I don't know if I don't think so. Uh, by what's most important to me.
Well,
I mean, important to who I am as a person.
okay,
You
well,
mean?
let me ask a different way, or a different kind of question, sort of, but same topic, which is, let's say you had a couple of friends, and there was a choice you needed to make, and it was like somebody was going to get their feelings hurt no matter what you did.
Okay.
Okay, you're aware of this, and it's a fairly complicated emotional equation. Like, there's three other people involved. So, like, if you go with Mary, then Steve will be angry, but Bob will be fine. But if you go with Bob, then it's complicated. Okay, there's lots of variables, emotional variables in there. How easy is it going to be for you to calculate that, or do you know how to go about calculating that, or do you just make the decision on some other calculus, like, well, you know what, Mary's going to probably buy me dinner, so I'm going to go with her.
um,
And one other thing about that, would you be trying to find a way where everybody could be a little bit pleased, or would you be trying to make sure others are more pleased and happy, and then some aren't?
Right. Yeah, that's a good
no,
follow-up. Good follow-up.
I wouldn't be comfortable if one person was unhappy and the other person. Like I would try to go across the board with it, as much as possible.
So
Um,
you'd rather three people be a little bit unhappy than one person be a lot unhappy and everybody else be happy?
yeah. Um,
Why?
because it's um, I don't think I see it as not fair that one person wins and the other three people don't win.
But what if the one person is wrong? Like, their perspective doesn't really make sense, and the other two people's perspectives make sense. Does that change your opinion about it?
Yeah, if one person's perspective clearly didn't make sense, I would try to explain to them why it didn't.
Look, SpaceyNYC, I'm sorry, but I know it doesn't make sense, but this is just really, really, really important to me.
Um, that's tough because I don't want to let the person down, but
Now, what if the other two people are like, yeah, it's gonna make me unhappy, but not that unhappy. So, do what you're gonna do.
I mean, you would think the obvious answer would be okay, give it to the other person because the other two people don't care as much. But if that person, if the one person making a fuss is wrong, it's kind of hard to just let that person have its way because it's just not.
But Spacey, my moisture, my dampness, please.
I do have a weakness for like if someone is very like adamant emotionally, I do have a weakness for that. Um, but the other side of me says, but they're wrong. It's like that's a tough
Matthew, you're
decision.
making a weird clicky sound. Can you refresh?
I think it's the microphone on my. There's some microphone on here. I'm just gonna be.
Okay. All right. So that's a tough question for you. What are some of
Yeah,
the?
I
Would,
think it. Yeah.
imagine now as that these aren't just random hypothetical people, but you have some specific relationship to each of them. How much are you gonna include the specifics of that? Like, well, I have a long history with Joe, and I don't really know Mary very long, or he and I are tied, or whatever. How much are you gonna factor that stuff in?
Not. I don't think that'll factor like much. I don't think so. Um, I don't do favoritism like that. It's more about Um, was fair.
Okay, well, you sound like a deliberator. You know, it's like everything about you sounds like a deliberator. You keep siding with TI and FI over other things. So that would suggest you're in either TI or FI in the dominant. Now, I haven't tested your logic at all, um, but that's not going to be hugely definitive because INFPs usually are pretty good with TI. But let's give it a shot anyway. See how you do with it. Let's give
Okay.
you. Have you heard the hat question before?
I don't think so.
Um, okay. So there are three red hats and one white hat in a bag. Okay.
Okay.
There are three prisoners, and there's a warden. The warden tells the prisoners, "You can go free if you can tell me what color hat you have on." And then he blindfolds all the prisoners. And the hats are small; they just sit on the top of your head, so you can't see your own hat at all. Okay.
Okay.
Now, he has each of the prisoners pull a hat randomly from the bag and put it on their own head, and he centers it so they can't see their own head for sure. And he takes the blindfold off of the first guy, and he says, "If you can tell me which color hat you have, you can go free. But if you guess wrong, I put you to death. Or you can choose not to guess, in which case you go back to jail and just finish out your sentence like normal." And the prisoner says, he looks at the other guys' hats and he goes, "I can't tell you. I don't know what color hat I have." And the warden says, "Okay, so here, you stay here." And then he takes off the blindfold of the second guy. And the blindfold of the second guy, he looks around and he goes, "I can't tell what color hat I have." And he goes, "Okay, you stay here." And then the third guy goes, "I'm blind. You didn't need to blindfold me at all. I don't have any eyeballs." And the warden goes, "Oh, that's right, you're blind." And he says, "Well, I'll still give you a chance. If you want it, you can guess." And he's like, "I don't need to guess. I know what color hat I have." And then he tells the warden, and he goes free. The question is, what color hat did he have, and how did he know?
He just said, "I know what color hat."
Even though I am blind, I can tell you what color hat I have. And he tells the warden, and the warden lets him go. All right. Well, I'm gonna let you muse about that for a bit. But while you're, just let that settle. We'll come back to it later. I'm gonna ask you another question. It's a simple conditional logic test. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not trying to trick you. Whatever you think the obvious answer is probably the answer. Okay. So
Okay.
there's a girl, Judy. She plays soccer. Now there's a game scheduled for Saturday. If Judy goes to practice on Friday afternoon and does not hurt herself, then she will play in the game on Saturday. And if she plays on the game on Saturday, then either her mom or her dad, but not both, will watch her play. Now, here's two other facts. Mom is out of town for the weekend, the whole weekend. She's hundreds of miles away. And number two fact is Judy does not hurt herself in practice on Friday afternoon. What can we conclude?
That the dad will show up.
Yeah, and that she will play in the game.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. So that's, if you were an ESFP, for example, you would say something like, "Judy likes soccer. Mom works really hard." Okay.
Okay.
So you're not an ESFP. You have basic conditional logic that you can utilize. You're not an ESFP or ENFP. We're going to eliminate
Okay.
those two, basically.
Yeah.
All right, Matthew, you
I
got
don't
any
have polar
questions?
TI.
Huh?
You got any questions?
Yeah. Do you experience synchronicity kind of things? Like, will you ever, could something ever happen? You see your friend Tina at the supermarket, and you suddenly have you have a thought to yourself, like afterwards, or like when you're reflecting on it, like, God, like it makes so much sense that I would have seen Tina today, like based on other things that have happened, and like it just makes perfect sense that she would have been put there in that spot. Um,
Does that
like
kind of idea
it,
resonate with you?
it just like adds up somehow. That like it
Yeah,
somehow.
yeah, I definitely relate to that. Yeah, like you mean like the coincidence type of thing? Like it's not
Yeah,
really a coincidence.
coincidences that are making sense all over the place. Do
Do
you
you
have
agree
that
that
kind of
everything
thing?
happens for a reason? Do you agree with the statement everything happens for a reason?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So, is art like say a okay? Let's say I give you 5 poems. Is it true that one of these poems is better than the other 4 poems?
From my perspective, or from a universal perspective.
From a universal perspective. You're such an
No,
INFP.
I
You
can't
are
I
such
can't
an INFP.
I
You
would say no,
you're
but
you're a textbook INFP. Frankly, if people watching want to know what an INFP is like, you I start asking them a bunch of questions. This is what you get: long pauses, hums and haws, uncertain answers, non-committalism, and yet there's good TI in there. You can see there's competent at least TI because they're a judging type, and they'll affirm TI and FI both over other things. You heard the insecurity function is TI. He's better at it than he thinks he is, but he's insecure about it, just like we all are about our eighth function. And it's just textbook. You're just textbook INFP. The fact that you have so much trouble answering that question. Okay, let me ask another question that maybe will be a little easier to answer. I don't know, but probably it'll get
okay.
similar uncertainty, which is it the case that the best pieces of art are discovered and lesser pieces are created, or do you disagree with that statement?
I'm doing it again. You got me like second guessing myself now.
And discovered meaning like they already existed
Like
somewhere
they
somehow.
stumbled. You mean like they
Yeah.
stumbled upon? I mean, in my opinion, the best works come from when you stumble upon it. But um,
It's
I
just
could.
that 6 slot NI. You're just wrestling with it. You just like, no, no, you will not let me know singular truths.
I see. I see.
Okay,
So
so
so my I
let
just
me
feel like
just
I'm not.
go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead. My bad.
The reason why INFP was the first result like when I ever got into MBTI and I took the 16 personality test. That's the first result I got was INFP initially. Like before I even knew anything, I didn't know about functions or nothing. Um, but then as time went on and I started reading, I started relating to NIFE as well. But the INFP, I see what you're saying, but I don't. I feel like I'm not that good at NE though. That's the thing. Like it, yeah. No, I am.
That's because
I'm
you're
using
not
it.
understanding what NE is. This whole time you've been NEing. You just do it
Yeah,
differently than I do it, right? I verbalize externally my extroverted intuition. You do
okay.
it more internally. So I mean, it's still extroverted intuition because you're still taking action on a metaphysical flow, whether it's inside your head or you're vocalizing it externally or not. But the thing
Okay.
is, you're going through the different possible interpretations of the question that I'm asking, right? And
Yes.
going, well, but if I answer it this way, then it contradicts this general feeling I have towards things. Or if I answer it
Okay.
this way, it contradicts this general feeling I have towards things. And that's
Okay.
NE right there. That's what you're doing is extrovertedly intuiting. Ask every question I'm asking you, you're using your tool function. And because it's
Okay.
paired with a dominant function of feelings, you can't come up with any definitive enough answers because those two in conjunction with each other are especially contraindicative of NI. in the sixth slot.
Okay.
So like, whereas INTP has this weirdly friendly relationship with NI, INFP has a very adversarial relationship with it. Anytime NI wants to collapse something to a singular truth, the INFP goes, my feelings are mushy, and my tool function is telling me here's some other possibilities.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, do you feel like you're doing a lot of feeling? Not that you would have to be an INFP, I don't think, but I mean, just do you perceive it like that? Or
Do I see myself as a strong feeler?
as doing a lot of feeling in general? Yeah, I mean,
Not consciously, no. I feel like I do a lot of thinking and ideating in my head, but I don't see myself as being in touch with my feelings 24/7.
Okay, that's a good
Um,
question. And
that could be Enneagram related too, though, right? Like to
well,
just not see it as feeling, but you still could be doing it probably.
I,
yeah, like I don't reject that I am doing it and I'm not noticing it, but I don't see that I'm feeling all the time. Whereas my ISFP girlfriend, I see her FI like it just like resonates like effortlessly for her, but I don't see that in myself. But
okay, well, here's the thing about some introverted feelers. The thing about feeling is you are thinking about things. You're just thinking about them from a calculus of authentic resonance with you, which is another reason why there's
okay,
such an NI conflict, because authentic resonance with you and you're thinking about it. Well, this one resonates, this one doesn't. Maybe here's why this resonates, here's why it doesn't. But it's always going to be thinking from that frame of resonance with you in some capacity. Now, if we talk about it as feelings, everyone thinks, well, we're talking about being sad and happy and mad and whatever. It's not. It's not that. It's. I mean, I don't really get it, but there's some other depth to it that's about the authentic resonance with the self. Of course, NI says, well, what authentically resonates with the universal? So those two things are going to cause a lot of consternation in the INFP because they have reasonable capacity to use their six slot function in a semi-conscious fashion and utilize NI, and you probably do in making your own music. But when asked questions about it, and it's converted into the metaphysical realm where it's being asked you to, I'm asking you to calculate the meanings of these words using TI, well, then you get thrown for a loop. So you can use NI in your own art making and probably do successfully. And you think, hey, I got pretty good resonance with NI. But when I ask you to analyze NI or to view things analytically through the lens of NI, you reject it because for you, NI doesn't resonate on the metaphysical level. It resonates with on the physical resonance with the self level, and so the FI and TI run into contradiction with each other there. If I try to get you into TI, and the reason they contradict is because TI is trying to line up with NI, whereas FI is continuing to try to line up with NE. So
okay. So now that I'm realizing it, the NE is the reason why I was back and forth in my own type
right,
because
because you're in your head ideating about the different possibilities.
Is Matthew on the
yeah.
toilet?
So would you say that seeing because I'm the type like I see both sides in everything. That's NE.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Then I do that all the time then.
So, and you could see it in like President Obama when he gave speeches. He'd always be like, now, on the one hand, if we have an America where people blah, 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 then blah, 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 blah. And on the other hand, if we blah, 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 he did it in speeches all the time, just any, except it was crafted so that he'd do it into pairs instead of just going off on tangents. But I've noticed myself, I didn't even know I did this. I watch old videos sometimes, and there's one in particular where I'm doing a little like a debate roll. You know, I'm on a debate roll, and and at the end of a sentence, I go, you know, and it sounds
You
just
do.
like
And
Obama. You know.
when I first met you, I
Yeah.
noticed that, and I noticed I started talking to people like that. Da 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 da.
Well, I've got lots of different rhythms that I use, but there's some of them that are very Obama-ish, and the reason is because of the nature of NE. It flows and flows and flows and flows and resolves. You know.
Yeah. Okay. You see Obama as a ENTP then?
Yeah, he's ENTP.
Okay.
I
I've seen it. I've seen him typed as ENFJ a lot.
Yeah, me too. I saw ENFJ.
They always, for some reason, they say that on those websites.
he's. I mean, remember we've seen the most polished an ENTP can get, basically, in Obama.
Okay.
So I mean, he's actively cognating all the time about, or he used to be when he was a politician, about how shit's gonna play. Remember though, in private he's not really like that. He smokes cigarettes, and he's also, if you can just tell by he's just the NE is clear as day, okay, and the TI is clear too. His frustration with people being irrational and shit. But the problem I have with him is he didn't ultimately use the TI like he ought to have, because if he had been actively using his TI on real policy considerations, he wouldn't have the bullshit policies he had. Some of them were just, and some of them were not, and he had allowed himself to become relativistic rather than TI proper, and it offended me a little bit. But I can't really blame the guy because he was so. Kim, stop!
No.
You're fucking with my shit.
No.
Let me be clear: the Marlboro Red is America's best cigarette.
Matthew, why do you look so different?
There are those who will tell you that perhaps the Cool or the Camel filter is a preferable cigarette, but let me be clear: the Marlboro Red is America's best cigarette.
Matthew.
Yes.
Why do you look so different?
INFP.
He should.
Because I'm wearing a hat.
Oh no,
Maybe
you
I don't
shaved.
know.
Did you shave?
I did.
Have you ever heard of a INFP and an ISFP being in a relationship?
An INFP
Kind of
what?
like, huh?
An INFP 9, you said?
No, have you ever heard about two FI doms being in a relationship before?
It sounds like a living nightmare to me, but
Polar
I
FI.
haven't actually. But on the one hand, here's the thing: at least you guys won't conflict on deliberation style. So that's where the conflict typically occurs in unmanageable conflict. Is if your tool function is their polar, then you have fucking serious trouble. But your tool function is her polar.
Yeah.
That's a problem for you.
Yeah.
That's a serious problem.
I haven't seen how that problem has popped up. At least I haven't noticed it. But because I thought I had SE, but now I realize I don't have SE.
And her tool
But
function is your polar. Every time she's trying to do anything with her tool function to get things accomplished, you're like, wait, what are you trying to do? And every time she's gonna be like, okay, let's do it. And you're like, no. We need to ideate more about this. What are you talking about? And neither of you are gonna get what the other's saying.
With her, she's not. Well, you know what? She does. She's like an impulse buyer, and I tell her consequence if you. I'm always telling her what's gonna happen if you buy something. So I'll be like, no, don't buy that because then this will happen. All right.
Did she listen?
She does reluctantly.
Huh. Does she get mad when you ask? When you suggest something like that?
No, not really. She doesn't. She's very non-confrontational, so she doesn't ever like.
Let me refresh. I wanted to show you guys where it's taking a little afternoon nap. What happened? God damn it. What happened? Come on, camera.
So, do you ever like action just for the sake of action?
No, but I like being in action at times. Like for me, one one area that I'm most in action, I feel like it's when I'm driving. Like I like to drive fast. So I don't know if that counts as like action, but you
He's
know,
an INFP.
I'm
Call him the
drawn.
slammer. Oh my God, Red says we should throw you in the slammer, but Red, we're not type policing this guy.
Yeah,
Throw
I
him in the
never no, I
slammer.
never
Just
claimed
throw him
that.
in the slammer. Red.
I
I'm
never
sorry.
claimed that
Red's
was
a
her.
very rude chicken. I apologize. It's not appropriate. Okay,
We
I'm
got
gonna end
another
this
one.
video.
Try
I'm gonna
this.
end this
We got
video
another.
now. You're an INFP. I'm gonna end this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.